Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to America's hometown track, the South Boston Speedway, playing host of this evening's season opener for the iCars International Championship Auto Racing Series Super Late Model Tour, the Showdown 200 laps, 80 miles around Sobo from green to checker, and we're glad to have you with us along for the ride on LSRTV. In the broadcast booth this evening, alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, is Justin Rose now, and our executive producer is Laura Lawson. Justin, we get set to get this one going. 200 laps will be on tap. The iRacing.com Ford first pace car going to drop away this time by, and then the field is going to be in the hands of the iCars Ford Falcon pace car going to take over, and we'll get set to get this one underway.
We're talking the home of the Denny Hamlin Short Track Showdown and several other prestigious races. South Boston, one of the most historical tracks, in all of racing, not just here on iRacing, but I mean you're talking the likes of the Myers brothers, Tim Brown, especially in the modifieds, and you're talking Lee Pulliam. This is Lee Pulliam's home track, who's won two consecutive NASCAR Whelen All-American Series championships as well.
And now you see that the field comes to a stop down the back straightaway. The field is going to line up behind that Ford Falcon pace car that is piloted by Dustin Graham, the official iCars pace car for this evening's event. That gives these guys the ability to not have to rely on iRacing's automatic caution system. It will be manually controlled by race control, and we will see that Ford Falcon out in front of the field whenever we do slow them down for a caution flagged period. The field has been set by a random prediction to get this season underway. It is round 1 of 10 on this 2015 championship that features one race a month all the way through to the championship in December, and we're going to have all of that for you on LSRTV. Take a look. Pole position going to go to Tim Bills. The 37 car will start up front. The number 7 was scheduled to start in second. That car has not made the grid. Third will go to the 4th place machine. That's Denny Clark. P4 will go to the 5 of Stephen Burnett. 5th position going in favor of the 87 of Derek Holtzhausen, and 6th to the 44 machine as well. That's Paul Fugatti, and you see a whole lot of drivers here. They're getting things sorted out, Justin, before we get rolling.
Yeah, and as they take their time getting the grid all lined up for you here, it's kind of a little bit different here. The guys are limited to just 9 gallons of fuel in their tanks, and they're only allowed to take 4 tires during the entire event. So tire strategy, how hard you run, and how often and when you take those tires is really going to decide who's going to be there at the end.
And they're currently working that full field to invert as we speak right now and getting everything calculated for our season opening event. You talked about it there. That's the biggest thing, Justin, I think, coming into this is you'll hear them a lot of time talk about it, how the teams don't have enough sets of tires, or they have some so they can come down and get 4. Well, that's never an issue on iRacing. This evening, though, again, they are limited to the 4 tires you get to start the event with, and you can only get 1 extra set. You can put 2 sets of right side tires on. You can put 1 swing of 4. That's something that's going to be monitored by race control throughout the evening and could be a big game changer when you talk about 200 laps at the South Boston Speedway and trying to get all that done on a limited tire set. So that's going to make the strategy calls under caution when you pit and when you're not a lot more interesting than a typical race.
Yeah, this surface is definitely one of the oldest around. It's a very worn out racetrack, and because of that, there's several bumps that these guys have to negotiate, especially coming out of turns number 2 and getting into turn number 3 on the back straightaway. Very bumpy in both corners. It's going to be a little bit of a trick there, especially if you're waiting until the very end on old tires to get your set of 4 tires and such. So really, it's going to be, who's going to save their stuff in about the first 100 laps, and then the following 50 is going to be who's going to get themselves into position. And if you have them 4 tires available, put them on during a caution flag, and next thing you know, you're going to find yourself in contention for the win with 4 fresh ones, and you got the best shot to win.
Indeed, another thing that's to note is that there are no quick fixes available in this series going towards the race. So you can't come down, you can't get some damage. And, a lot of the drivers have been assisted in some of these series that we covered just about the fact that they can choose when to use a quick fix, which used to be something you didn't have the ability to do before. If you had damage, it was taking up that quick fix. Well, you don't even need to worry about that this evening because that's not going to happen. You can't go out there and essentially pull out a backup car off the trailer, get back out on the racetrack. What you get is what you have to run with for all 200 laps, and now the field begins to take form down in 3 and 4. The pace car will then roll off, give us a pace lap, duck down and away, and we will get this 200 lap and 80-miler event rolling at America's hometown track. It is a doubleheader Sunday evening on LSRTV, immediately following our coverage of the iCars Super Late Model Tour Showdown 200. Cora Sunday Money Chase Race 3 from Talladega coming up as well, so a lot of exciting action. But we love our fixes of short tracks here on LSRTV. Justin, I know we're excited to get this season going. Talk about how their schedule is a little bit different than what you would typically expect. They don't race week in and week out. Our first race is this evening. Next one's going to be in May on the 31st. Then you got one in June, one in July, August, September. Pretty much one race every single month that spans this season all the way out through this entire 2015 Racing Series campaign. We're at South Boston. Tonight we'll be at other tracks. Talk about the next 3 races coming up. Lucas Oil Speedway, the Milwaukee Mile, Langley. You also have New Smyrna at the end of the season. A great caliber of short tracks throughout this campaign.
There is. Milwaukee Mile definitely is not a short track, but 1 mile tracks do host the super late models, and among a few other cars like New Hampshire as well. They'll have a race there at New Hampshire during the year as well. A lot of really flat tracks. We're not talking, the high banks of Bristol or Dover or anything like that. It's going to be, get into the corner, lay on them brakes, try to, get everything you can out of the car going into the corners. That's the type of racing you're going to see here at iCars.
And we get set to get rolling. Again, pole position just happened to go to the driver who sat up on top of the board in the qualifying session. Even before the random inversion happened to be up there as well. It's the STP entry, the 37 of Tim Bills will start in first position. The number 4 looks like he'll start up along inside. Denny Clark is going to be P2.
Inside row number 2 is going to be the 5 of Stephen Burnett, and outside of him is going to be the 87. I do believe that's going to be Derek Holzhausen.
Then the 44 machine will be on the inside of row 3 and P5. Outside there, the 29 car going to be gridding up in the number 6 spot. That's Ben Nile.
Row number 4 is going to have Justin Brooks in the 33, and outside of him, the 75 of Cody Kelly.
Derek Kress is attempting to find his spot in line in the Action Racing 00 machine. He's currently up against the outside retaining wall outside of what is currently row number 4. We do have, again, the field now rolling through corners number 1 and 2, and everybody else going to get things sorted out. A total of 20 cars on track. One of those is still scored as the pace car. It's technically the number 3 Ford Falcon iCars official pace car, piloted by Dustin Graham. He'll be at the front of the field, so we will have 19 competitors this evening at the South Boston Speedway before we do get this race underway. The South Boston Speedway, we've talked a little bit about the history of this racetrack, Justin. A very, very small facility. It's not very wide. There's not a lot of room for mistakes. It clocks in at just 2/5 of a mile in length here. That's what makes our 200 lap event just 80 miles round. Lap times sub 15 seconds in qualifying. It is going to be a very fast race, and that means everything's going to be happening very quickly out there at once.
Indeed it is. It's mostly cloudy here at the track. Very cold temperatures, ambient air temperature and track temperature 65 degrees, so that's why you're seeing very low 14-second lap times here in the super late models. Typically during normal weather conditions, track temperatures up around 100 degrees or so, and air temperatures around 80 degrees. You're going to find these guys actually struggling to stay in the 14-second bracket here in the super late models. So the weather is going to be a big factor. It's going to offer up a lot of grip, and you're going to see guys probably fighting a tight loose condition all night long.
There's a lot of big names in this. We've mentioned some of them as we've gone down and through the grid. Tim Bills, Justin Brooks, the likes of as well Ben Nile, all the way through. A lot of names that we've seen a couple times here on LSRTV as now the field rolls down the front straightaway. We get set to get this evening's season opener and the series debut for not only the series but as well our coverage of the iCars Super Late Model Tour, the Showdown 200, getting set to get underway from America's hometown track. The 37 and the 4 will stack up. They will be the front row in this event. Tim Bills, somebody that we've seen quite a few times racing short tracks on LSRTV with the Upstate Racing League that ran Thursday evenings earlier on in this 2015 racing campaign. You see one car dropping to the back. That's DeMarco Starks.
Yeah, got a little bit of an extra head start on everybody, so he's giving that lap back to everybody else as well. The field now rolling through turns number 1 and 2. You're going to see the pace car dive off this time, so we're going to have about 198, 199 laps in the race, give or take, with the advent of trying to reset this field here. But the pace car is going to dive to pit road, and Tim Bill's is going to fire him off out of 4.
Tim Bills going to be in control of this field as Dustin Graham releases the field into the hands of the number 37. Bills, the STP Blue Charger down to quarter number 1. Green flag flies. We're racing at the South Boston Speedway. The Showdown 200 is green, and already the top 3 single file out. Side by side now, but a challenge for third. Danny Clark up high. Looks like Derek Holzhausen with the pass.
Derek Holzhausen, one of the faster guys in the Super Late Model Series, claws his way up into third. I think he's going to be content to ride, maybe save his tires a little bit. That's going to allow him to be there when it really does count. A little bit further back in the pack, you're looking at the 75 of Cody Kelly trying to fend off and actually getting around the 44 of Paul Fugate. Caution on the racetrack.
And it's trouble for Carson Obe. He has made contact with Kevin Walker. The 35 car is turned around as well, and we're going to slow him down now for a early caution flag. This contact, we'll work on getting a replay for you, happened down in lap number 5. Technically 2, though, off of our restart here, and it's contact. The 35 of Walker gets in a little bit hot on the inside line. They were both trying to get around Holzhausen up on the outside lane, who was 3 wide, got into the back of Carson Obe, turned both of those cars around, and then 35 was going to be okay, Justin, but the 01 machine trying to snake through that. Looks like John Milwane got into him, turned that 35 back up the hill, and a very close call for the 96 car, who almost got caught in a fence. Ricky LaDuke going to get around, and then Corey Dunn, looks like the 57, caught a piece of those barrels there, which is very interesting because we talk about how there's not a lot of room at this racetrack. That inside wall is right there on the front straightaway. A lot of times you spin coming off of that corner, not a lot of time to avoid pretty much that flat wall.
Yeah, the straightaway is very narrow here, only about 45 to 50 feet wide, give or take. So, I mean, it's one of the most narrow straightaways in all of iRacing and in all of real-world racing, actually. So it's, you know, tight quarters, bumping and banging. Looking further back in the pack, the 57 of Corey Dunn, who was involved. Heavy front and rear end damage on that ESR machine.
And now Tim Bill's going to cycle up behind the pace car, which is again piloted by Dustin Grant. Carson Obe and both Kevin Walker were involved in that incident. Their Dodge and then their Toyotas, respectively, are not going to fall down a lap because they do sit right behind the pace car. So when the lights go off right there, they will receive their wave round. They're now going to cycle back to the lead lap, and now the 37 is once again going to be in control of this field. The big difference in this is the 5 car now going to get a shot at the outside of row 2. He'll swap spots. Now the 87 going to find himself in third alongside the 4. Let's see what Stephen Burnett possibly can do up there on the outside, Justin, as he'll be shotgun on the front row. That machine has race-driven graphics on the hood. That's one of the partners here at iCars.
Indeed it does, and you know, on the outside here, on the restarts, if you have 4 fresh tires or even just 2 tires and the guy next to you on the inside lane has no tires, you can rocket around these guys on the outside. While the inside line is the preferred place to be, a pass can definitely get done on the outside if you're patient enough to try to roll the corner better.
We get set to go back green flag racing off of our first caution flag here. Pace car down and away. Tim Bills once again to Justin Brooks Designs machine in control. Green flag flies back at it down to corner number 1. Top 3 playing nice. Everybody in the top 5 is all single filed out. But again, the first side-by-side battle involves the number 4 of Denny Clark. And once again, he's on the wrong side of it. The 75 Cody Kelly making a move to the inside. The 4 sideways and hard in the fence.
Big junk on the straightaway. About 10 cars pile in there. Is going to be the 57 involved, the 72, 35, 49 Carson Obey also involved, the 01 as well. Half the field just has heavy damage here on the front straightaway here, and I believe that's going to end a lot of guys nice here in the early going.
A huge lick that set that number 4 car up in the air and into the fencing alongside the front straightaway, and a whole melee of cars pile into it. It's a parking lot. Just mentioned right before that happened, Justin, that Denny Clark, again, for the second time in a row, he was the first battle side by side. That car was struggling to be able to get to the preferred inside lane position. You knew he was getting desperate considering he started up inside the top 2 rows. When he was on the outside there in 4, he was already side by side for about position 7 or 8. So he was falling back very, very quickly. You could tell he was getting a little bit desperate, gave it a little bit too much gas that time, spun it around, and unfortunately for everybody else, the fact that there's not a lot of room, there's a concrete wall right on your right-hand side and right on your left-hand side, there's no apron to spin down to, everybody else with nowhere to go, locking them up and piling in on each other, and a fairly large incident will slow us down very early for the second time.
Yes, it will, and looking at damage throughout the field here, I believe everybody from about 9th on back has extremely heavy damage, so really only 8 guys left on the track without any kind of damage to their automobiles. One of the contenders taken out of the race here in the early going, the 787 of Kyle Holzhausen, he's on pit road taking all the repairs that's going to be needed to make that car at least competitive to try to salvage a decent finish here tonight. But again, 12 out of the 20 drivers here involved in that last caution here, all with heavy damage.
And the total tally of what was 19 cars that started on the lead lap, and this one is now dropped to 15, and we talked about the fact that there's no quick fixes, so a lot of those people with damage, if they still have an engine under the hood, not going to be working with that well of a piece of equipment throughout this. The last car on the lead lap right now is John Milway, and that's the Monster Energy 01 Toyota Camry. That car pretty torn up, especially on the left side of that. 2 to go this time by before our restart comes up. Carson Obey, that machine looks fairly well. The Atlantic Cat entry, he is looking pretty swell right now. 16th position, Lucky Dog spot, and car's not all that banged up, Justin. Other guys that he has to deal with, you talked about Holzhausen, that 787's on the pit lane, heavy damage to that Ford. And then you got guys like Raphael Lassard, who's down pit road. He's already 2 out of it with severe damage, and Denny Clark is now behind the wall. The 4 car is officially out of this race.
Yes, he is. And looking at that shot he took, he just lost it, hooked it around, he caught, went head on to the outside retaining wall. And here at South Boston, no safer barriers in the corners, so you're just hitting flat concrete. That obviously destroyed a lot of the front suspension pieces on that number 4. Same thing could be said for the 17 of Raphael Lassard. He's on pit road. The left front is cambered way out of that machine as well. It's going to be a long time for that crew to make repairs on that machine.
The wave rounds have been served, and the 4 car is going to get an end of the longest line penalty, although that machine is already out of this event. For the 3rd time, Tim Bill's going to lead us to a restart. It's the 2nd time it is going to be off of a caution flag. The pace car down and away. The STP Petty Blue Ford back at it. That Dodge Charger, races him down to quarter number 1. P2 is not the battle, it's for the 3rd. And again, that 87 fighting, he's got to deal with Justin Brooks.
Brooks, a very strong competitor, I do believe was a champion of the late model series for several seasons as well, driving that wheeling and dealing motorsports entry with Short Track Racing Network there on the hood of that machine. Gets around the hard way, goes around the outside of the 87 of Derek Holzhausen, puts himself in the 3rd spot. He's just going to be riding along now, trying to get around Stephen Burnett and not let Tim Bills get out of sight. That's going to be the name of the game, because eventually there's going to be a long green flag run with a lot of these damaged vehicles on the racetrack. They're going to start falling by the wayside, and next thing you know, Evan, it's going to be just these guys just out here making laps. So you don't want to let the leader get out of sight, especially if you're stuck behind somebody like Stephen Burnett.
Exactly. This next time around, just 180 laps still remain in this event. So again, very early on with the string of caution flags, which is typically the way you see a couple of yellows, and then you're at one point going to break through and get a really long green flag stretch. So far, so good. Everybody's single file. Talked about how it was Brooks who was on the defensive for third. Now he's on the offensive for second. To the inside, on the number 5 machine is Stephen Burnett on the outside. That car, not even a chance of playing defense on that. And the race-driven graphics car will be forced up to the high side. And once Brooks gets through, he opens up the floodgates. The 87 of Derek Holtzhausen through. He'll bring the 75. Another very strong short track competitor through. And a hell of a good STRN entry as well. Cody Kelly up to 4th.
Cody Kelly, no stranger to victory lane, with hell of a good dips there on the side of that machine as well. He's going to put that 75 machine around the number 5 of Stephen Burnett. He's going to get up in the top 4 now. In the top 4, all guys that can win late model race on any given basis as well. So you got Tim Bills out front in that number 37 petty colored Dodge Challenger. It's got the Challenger decals on it today. And one of the things about the super late models, Evan, you can have something as weird as a Dacia Sandero here on the cars themselves, and I'm hearing there's a caution on the racetrack.
It was the car that just got back to the lead lap after surviving an earlier incident. Trouble for the number 49 of Carson Obey. That car is head first into the inside wall down the front straightaway. Heavy black smoke pouring out of the back of it. It was not his fault, but he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. The 96 of Ricky LeDuc was in a fight with the 44 car for position. They made contact, mutual contact in 3 and 4. The 96 got sideways, bounced off the fence, and Obey had nowhere to go. Carson got sent into the inside wall. LeDuc spun around a couple of times. Both of those machines are receiving at least some substantial heavy nose damage and engine damage on both of those cars. Going to bring us back under the caution flag just as things looked like they were spreading out. Again, no room to really avoid if something happens in front of you, Justin. That's the common denominator in really all of these incidents.
Yes, it is, and you gotta, a lot of the things you hear people complaining about when it comes to running short tracks is you're gonna hear these guys complain, okay, it's wreck avoidance time. Well, unfortunately for Carson, just guessed wrong, especially with the 96 coming down the front straightaway there, Ricky LeDuc, and he's gonna really kind of put an end to that machine after being involved in a couple early wrecks and not getting much damage. That right there is probably going to end his race. He might get back out though with a few laps to go, but odds are I think he's got too much engine damage to continue.
And we just increased back to 16 on the lead lap. Now we will drop back down to 14 on the lead lap as we run right now. That car is DeMarco Starks, who started in P12. That's the Deborah entry. The 38 car is in 14th position right now. Deborah, one of the sponsors that makes iCars possible, along with Brennigan Ford in Sparta, Wisconsin, D&D Amusement Games, Race-Driven Graphics, the 4 people that are bringing and helping bring this coverage to you guys live on LSRTV. So our third caution very early on. Tim Billsdale still looking good, but I wouldn't get too comfortable because as we double up, one of the names that we've mentioned and his teammate following right behind him, Justin Brooks, now back up to second. Justin, right behind him, he's got Cody Kelly in trail.
Indeed, you got the wheeling and dealing guys on the outside, and you got the next couple of guys. Forgive me, I can't remember what team they're on, but I know all 4 of these guys, they are the cream of the crop when it comes to super late models here. So it's going to be anybody's game getting down into turn 1, and Brooks is a master of the restarts.
We'll see if he can anticipate that one. Did a pretty good job as the green flag flies. 37 car will still be clear by the time we get down to 1 and 2. Side by side for third off of corner 2 and down the back straightaway here at South Boston. Inside is Derek Holtzhausen, but a tough competitor trying to do it the hard way. Cody Kelly on the outside lane loses half a car length. Smart move ducks in line for P4, and now he'll try to go back at that 87. The inside, the place to be. That's where we see the next battle for P5.
P5 has a battle with the 5 of Stephen Burnett and the 15 of Matt Rolfe, and Rolfe is going to get the advantage out of turn number 4, and Stephen Burnett is going to have to, he's actually falling all the way back to the edge of the top 10 after getting loose out of the corner there. Got a little bit of damage on the left front of that machine. I believe he got into the inside wall there a little bit out of 4 that last time by. That's going to put him right behind the number 35 of Kevin Walker, and he's in P8.
So from a top 5 spot back to now P8, just behind him, the 29 of Ben Nile really not hanging out. He wants to get that Chevy Camaro around the number 5 machine, but it was Burnett who got sideways and again pretty much brushed the inside wall trying to hang on because there's not a lot of recovery space when you're working around the racetrack. Everybody in front of them is minding their P's and Q's. Single file, but it's Derek Gress on the outside in the Action Racing entry is the first car that finds himself in hot water. To the inside on him goes Kevin Walker. He'll squeeze him up to the fence, not giving up quite yet. Bad news though for Derek is he's not just going to lose one spot if this 35 gets clear. It appears he may lose 3 because the 5 is right there as well as that 29 car. The 00 really needs to beat that battle with Walker. He'll go from what's sitting right now in 7th, possibly back to 9th if he can't capitalize.
Yeah, the 00 of Gress are just trying to do everything he can do to get around on the outside, and it's just not going to happen with Burnett now working to the inside of the 00 now out of turns number 2 and diving into 3. Burnett's going to have that advantage along with the 29 of Ben Nile down on the bottom, and it's going to be a long road to hoe there for the 00 there if he wants to try to work his way back up to the front.
He's doing a good job of hanging up there, but the issue is, it's not just one car. Once somebody gets that inside positioning, the floodgates are open, is a term I used earlier, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. He's had a couple of times that it was at the stripe. This time he'll maintain it over the 29 car of Ben Nile. Grass will be able to maintain P8, and as we say that, it appears that he's taking a much wider line, still leaving room to the inside. Doesn't really want to cut off the nose of the 29 this early. We close in now a 5th of the way through the action here at Sobo as lap 41 goes in the books this time by. Tim Bills still leading, but those guys behind him have not given him any space. The last few times Tim Bills has been able to get a little bit of a gap. This time, not really. 0.2 of a second back, really half a car length, and charging the Camry at Justin Brooks. He's thinking about it, and Holtzhausen not that far off either. The top 3 within 0.4.
Yeah, the top 4 are going to be your cream of the crop here tonight as Bills gets a little bit of that fence coming out of turn number 2. That's what I alluded to here earlier in the broadcast, is them bumps out of turn number 2 will spit you right in the wall if you come across them just the wrong way, ever so slightly. And indeed, that last time by got a little bit of damage. So you really want to focus on these guys here who are really running hard at the early stages of the race. You know, Tim Bills, Justin Brooks, Holzhausen, and Kelly, your top 4. If you're really going to push that hard to try to run away from the rest of the field, you could be burning your stuff up. And then the next guy in line, the 15 of Matt Rolfe in 5th, he might be out there just making laps, just trying to save his stuff there a little bit later and try to save his 4 fresh ones for the end of the race.
And the top 4 throw a blanket over them. It looks like they're on the parade lap that we saw earlier. Single file at about evenly spaced with a car length in between every single one of them. It's Bills, Brooks, Holtzhausen, and Kelly in the top 4 within 0.6 of a second of each other. 5th on back. The top 4 really are the cream of the crop, Justin, because everybody else 2 seconds plus on back. You have some decent battles going on back there. A couple of guys fighting for P8. Derek Grass, Ben Nile, Ray Farlow in a mix, and it looks like Farlow is going to lose a spot this time by as Corey Dunn going to put a pass on him. So that's a swap for the final spot inside of the top 10. But again, really, the question is, are these top 4 this even? Or is Tim Bills to a description holding these guys up, and they're not going to force the issue or really show their cards quite yet? They're just kind of riding around, and they don't really mind saving their tires because, again, there's only 4 more sitting down there in the pit lane. You can't burn them up and use them all race.
Certainly, indeed, and Bills might be using his stuff up a little bit because Brooks is really showing to be aggressive. He's trying to give him the outside in move there, which is really effective here at South Boston. You can roll in on the outside, dime in the center of the corner, and next thing you know, you're alongside of the guy inside of him coming out of either turns 2 or turn 4, and you've got the advantage going into the corner because he has to lift and yield the position to you. Brooks, he might be burning up that front end, and Holzhausen just looks to be riding around there in 3rd.
Caution flag flies. The pace car going to begin rolling as Dustin Graham rolls that Ford Falcon pace car out of the pit lane after we had trouble on the racetrack trying to get a number on that car. But caution flag is back out. We are at quarter distance of this evening's Showdown 200 from the South Boston Speedway. And as we work under our 4th yellow, we'll take the first of our own. Step away, go to a commercial break. You're watching LSRTV's debut coverage of the iCars Internet Championship Auto Racing Series Super Late Model Tour from Sobo.
thing that makes life so interesting. The theory of evolution claims only the strong shall survive. Maybe so. Maybe so. But the theory of competition says just because they're the strong doesn't mean they can't get their asses kicked. That's right. See, what every long shot come from behind underdog will tell you is this. The other guy may in fact be the favorite. The odds may be stacked against you, fair enough. But what the odds don't know is this isn't a math test. This is a completely different kind of test. One where passion has a funny way of trumping logic. So before you step up to the starting line, before the whistle blows and the clock starts ticking, just remember, out here, the results don't always add up. No matter what the stats may say, and the experts may think, and the commentators may have predicted, when the race is on, all bets are off. Don't be surprised if somebody decides to flip the script and take a pass on yelling uncle. And then suddenly, as the old saying goes, we got ourselves a game.
Back live and under the lights for a short track Sunday evening at the South Boston Speedway in Halifax County, South Boston, Virginia. The Showdown 200 in the series opener for the iCars Super Late Model Tour is past the quarter distance. Episoco Justin Rose now up in the LSRTV broadcast booth. Justin, so far working under a handful of cautions here in the opening stints, and we have seen that this racetrack has proven to be very difficult. We had some pit stops there, though, under this caution flag as we get set to go back at it. Everybody that coming down, really just the objective was fueling them up and get going, because they do have that 9-gallon fuel tank cap that they have set. So this changes up the running order. Holtzhausen to the top spot, Matt Rolfe up to second, Kevin Walker in third, and then everybody that hit the pit lane from fourth on back.
Yeah, fuel only, that is the name of the game, and the trick in these super late models is you want to keep fuel in them so you keep weight off the front end. It's really going to burn the front end up on these tires. And as we say that, we're back under the green flag, and Holzhausen gets a good jump over Matt Rolfe, and it's going to be single file for the first couple spots, and Brooks just rockets around the 35 of Kevin Walker, who has lots of damage on that number 35 machine as Bills gets around the 5 of Stephen Burnett, and Cody Kelly follows suit now. Sets sights on the 35 of Kevin Walker now out of turn 2.
Should be fun as we sit with 12 cars on the lead lap, looking at these guys sixth on back, the people that have hit the pit lane, and some of the guys that may have stayed in for a little bit longer than some others, trying to get back up and around people, such as the man that's dominated our race so far in the Play Blue STP Charger entry. Tim Bills is now 5th position. Can't get to Justin Brooks. Again, Brooks was the one that was chasing him down in the Elliott Realty entry for the longest part. Now that 33 is well up in 3rd, and Tim Bills finds himself stuck behind the 35 of Kevin Walker, and a big long train behind him. If he doesn't get going, I'm sure that 75 and Cody Kelly won't object to making a move on him.
The 35 of Kevin Walker slams the door shut on Tim Bills, and Bills is not really going to like that too much, as 35 runs wide in 3 and 4, holds off the 37 of Bills, who's trying to do his best to do it cleanly, to his credit. But Bills can't really wait that much longer, as he's lost already over a second to Justin Brooks.
And you see that 37 putting the left side tires down below the yellow line, trying to get everything that he can out of it. Now back down to the corner. A great defensive run, though, by the Childhood Cancer Canada entry up on the outside of Kevin Walker to hold off, because so far the inside has been the place to be, but Tim Bills hasn't had to deal with anything. Now caution, we got somebody wrecking down the back straightaway. It's DeMarco Starks and Paul Fugatti in the 44 and the 38. Trouble in yellows out.
Here in the 38 of Starks has just been unable to control that race car, very, very loose, as the saying goes, dirt tracking it. So, I mean, he's doing more right steering than he is turning left here on the ovals here. He's going to find himself on pit road with heavy damage to that 38 machine.
And the replay's up now. He had no way of avoiding Starks because DeMarco got turned around in the 38 and really the 44 with absolutely nowhere to go. Paul comes in there in pretty significant contact at a quarter number 2. The point that we were talking about was the fight that we were seeing between Tim Bills and Kevin Walker. Bills is going to get the upper hand in the end. However, does he really? Because he'll be shoved to the outside once again. He'll be restarting in P4 on the outside of row 2. But it was a good defensive move that we saw by Kevin Walker. The inside's been the place to be so far, Justin. 37 was not making quick work of Kevin Walker, and it's something that we talk about, and it's something that, you know, sometimes may affect a driver throughout the races. You ride up front all race, you don't have to work on that car because you don't nothing other than clean air and you enjoy it. Once you get tossed back in the pack, as opposed to the guys that have been back there all race and have been working on the cars, next thing you know, you can't do a lot with it. It didn't look like Tim Bills' car wanted to really rotate off the corner when that 35 was on the outside. He'll get P4 because he had a nose at the stripe the lap before the caution flag was thrown, but it was not easy work for him, and it could be bad news for guys like Cody Kelly, Stephen Burnett, and Derek Gress back through 8th position as they all try to cycle around that 35 after Walker stayed out.
Indeed, and with it being open setups, drivers are allowed to come down to pit road, even on fuel stops and making adjustments to their cars. It's a slight possibility that Bills made the wrong adjustment on his number 37 Dodge Challenger, flying the petty STP colors there. So time will only tell there, but he is in the 4th spot, and maybe he could do the same thing Justin Brooks did to the 35 of Kevin Walker, and that's rocking around the outside on the restart.
I want to give an update on the Toxic Media Solutions number 29 of Ben Nile, who is scored right now at 11th position, was 14th at the beginning of this race. He was the cause of the caution that we stepped away and went to commercial break for right at quarter distance. He caught the outside wall, had a little bit of help there, and actually scaled the wall. It was the literal definition of rim riding around the South Boston Speedway that brought it a caution. He is trying to maintain his competitive level, but does have some right side damage on that car, and that Chevy Camaro is currently 11th out of 11 on the lead lap after we had 19 of them start up there. An update on everybody that sits off the lead lap but is still on track. 2 laps down, Ray Farlow is fighting with that 44 machine of Fugatti to try to stay on the lead lap, or stay on, I guess, the first car 2 laps down to be able to get the wave around, get back at it. That's a decent fight for there. DeMarco Starks is 6 laps down. He's on pit lane. Everybody else, though, added this race. 15th on back for Ricky LeDuc, Carson Ove, Dustin Graham. That's the pace car, who's actually higher than some of these guys as we get back racing. The top 2 pull it away now, and it is 2 wide, 3-4 rows deep for 3rd on back.
Matt Rolfe spun his tires on the restart, got the advantage on the inside line, drove past the 37 of Tim Bills there, puts himself back into the 3rd spot. The 75 of Cody Kelly now works to the outside of Tim Bills, now out of turn number 2. Had a quarter on him going out of the corner there, but did not quite have the rear grip. There's the 35 of Walker now. Tries to work to the inside of the 75 of Kelly and cannot quite get it done as Kelly now drops to the inside line.
And now it's Derek Gress up on the outside, the 5, the Challenger to the inside. It's a fight for P7 down in 3 and 4, and this time by the nose advantage, dead even at the start. Finished on, it was a drag race to it. Gress, though, with the small upper hand in that battle over Burnett on the inside line. Again, the inside, the place to be. But we have seen selective drivers be able to use that outside as a defensive line because you get that huge run when you come off the corner, hit the straightaways, Justin, and they are using all of those 12 degrees of banking to try to get that momentum for them up on the high side, and we still remain deadlocked in a door-to-door fight. It's still for 7th.
Indeed, the 00 Gress still running that, I would dare call it a 3rd lane, because he's got about a car width separating him and Burnett as he cleared the 5 there for a moment, but just chooses to run that outside lane there, and Burnett having a really hard time trying to get around the 00 Gress. They're already almost 4 seconds back in your race lead with Derek Holzhauer.
Yeah, how about Holzhausen coming into this? The 87 has been a top 3 car for the majority of the race once he got settled in the line. Doing the best that we've seen anybody up front do all evening. When it was Tim Bills, he wasn't able to get any room over Justin Brooks. Not to say that Brooks isn't closing in on Holzhausen as this run continues on in the Elliott Realty Wheeling and Dealing Motorsports Toyota Camry, but he is 0.5 of a second off, so that's, although it's not a lot of time, I guess, that's so about pretty good gap, we'll call it 3-4 car lengths, from his 87 back to that number 33. Matt Rolfe is now up to a top 3 spot. We talked about that Key Smart entry who was up there after starting a little bit deeper in the pack. It seems like everybody came down, and typically you would expect the people that pit to go back out there be faster, but again, because of the tire rules, they only have 1 additional set of tires that they're permitted to use. Everybody came in to only fuel up because we're not even halfway through, and that's why really those guys that pitted, the only advantage they have is longer fuel mileage, not really speed-wise.
Indeed, and Holzhausen actually stretching out his lead over the 33 of Brooks. He's actually gone out almost 3/4 of a second now over Brooks, who's starting to fade a little bit. Maybe Holzhausen has the better long-run car here, as everybody has yet to take tires here at South Boston.
Ray Farlow is dropping, or rather Ray Farlow still maintains what's going to be the lucky dog position in 12th. It is the number 44 who has lost an additional lap. We see him running up on the outside of the racetrack right now, staying out of the way as all of our leaders cycle by. So that 44 is now 3 laps at a negative, and that would only make his hopes of returning to a lead lap fairly badly. And the reason he's slowed, he's got damage. Well, 7 of the 13 cars still on track have some sort of damage on their machines, and it's a fairly clean though car up front. Derek Holzhausen, the key though is staying really in front of the mess. That's exactly what he's done so far this evening, doing a good job of the lap cars rather staying high. He's doing a good job of letting them know that he's coming up on them, going to the inside, and so far, despite the close quarters, haven't really seen any major issues with some of our lead lappers trying to negotiate lap traffic, which is always good.
That can be a huge factor, especially late in the race if you're really pushing hard. Brooks now is trying to close that gap now that Holzhausen is trying to work lap traffic, was not able to do that. Gap is hanging at about 0.9 of a second here. We'll get the update this time by, and I do believe Brooks is going to lose time. Yes, he's actually over a second back of the 87 Holzhausen now.
DeMarco Starks now rejoins the racetrack, and that Deborah entry, so that car is now returning us to 14 active, 11 though still remain on the lead lap in this one. We need to thank again the people that make this possible. Shout out to Brennigan Ford in Sparta, Wisconsin. Our philosophy has always been true discount pricing. Every day we will give you our lowest price on every car. You will enjoy competitive, fair pricing with no negotiation necessary. Call 1-608-269-3673. Brennigan Ford in Sparta, Wisconsin, partly bringing on you our coverage of the iCars late model tour. Holzhausen in control of this field. I said Brooks may have been closing in because, well, really we expect the 33 to be closing in. He was doing the same thing when Tim Bills was on point. Well, it's no longer that 37 in front. Bills is still stuck in 5th position. That car not showing the same speed that it did earlier on in this event when he was up front, and now caution flag flies.
Caution flag flying. I think it was Stephen Burnett down on the inside wall there. We'll get the update for you here in just a moment, but caution flag coming back out onto the speedway, and this might be the opportunity for everybody to come down as we're close to halfway. Some guys might elect to take 2 tires or 4 tires, or they might take none at all. As you see, Brooks hits pit road, and so does Matt Rolfe. The 87 of Holzhausen appears to be staying out.
So after Corey Dunn self-spun into the inside wall, let's see what Justin Brooks does. As he comes to the pit lane, does the crew put any tires on that number 33 machine? So far, it appears that they continue to save those. It's gas only for the 33 car and back off, so not going to be a speed differential. Holzhausen now comes down pit road the second time around. Let's see if maybe that strategy will help him maintain the lead he's into his stall.
35 of Kevin Walker takes his 4 tires for the event. As I'm sitting here watching the 87 at Holzhausen, it's going to be a fuel-only stop and maybe a minor adjustment or so, as he really did have the best car on the racetrack there before the caution flag flew. The 75 of Kelly as well is going to take no tires and fuel only on that machine as well. He's going to get back out on the racetrack there, but that's going to hand the lead now to Tim Bills in the 37.
Bills will return to the top spot, and I was just about to, make a point of this when that caution came out, Justin, is we talked about how the top 4 were pulling away. They were the cream of the crop. They were all single file. I posed the question, wonder if Tim Bills is a little bit slower than all of them, and they just really weren't pushing the issue. That appears that may have been the case because of the fact that the 37 machine, when he was back in 5th position, 4 cars in front of him, he was not catching him. If anything, they were running away with him. So now that Tim Bills returns to the point, what can he do? And he's a little bit shorter on the fuel strategy. Again, everybody keeping an eye on the numbers. We sit right now, looks like 105 laps to go this next time around the start-finish line, as we're behind that Ford Falcon iCars official pace car piloted by Dustin Graham, getting set to go back at it very close to halfway. So all of these pit cycles and these fuel strategies are calculated by these teams.
They are, and they also try to figure out how many cautions are going to happen on average, and some guys actually have notes from other league races. They say that it's going to be pretty much yellow fever all night long, and there's a couple of them that say it's going to be, some spurts here and there with caution flags. But that was a pretty long, decent green flag run of about 30 laps or so, give or take, and we really got to see the 87 Holzhausen flex his muscle there, as Brooks was probably burning up his stuff a little bit, maybe made an adjustment or two there on pit road to try to change the handling of that race car a little bit to try to give him that extra grip he needs to go forward there, a little bit of wedge or something going in or out of that race car. We don't know for sure, but if we find out, we'll update that for you in just a moment, as well as the field now is going to go double file there. Wave rounds have been given to the field here. We'll fire them off out of 4 next time by.
So 3 drivers going to take 4 sets of tires on this, and they're going to be out of their 4 tires allotted. The 35 of Kevin Walker, the 44, and as well the number 57 of Corey Dunn. All those cars coming down, getting tires. Only Walker is on the lead lap. We'll see really how strong those are. He'll have 97 lap better tires. Restart coming up 2 laps shy of halfway in the Showdown 200. Tim Bills back where he started. The STP Petty Blue oil filters and oil treatment machine leads us back down the back straightaway, side by side for second on back. No surprise, it's Brooks on the attack.
Gress uses that unconventional line to try to hold off the 33 of Brooksman, and Brooks now working that inside line. Gress really charging hard to the center of the corner, gets in a wall now out of turns number 2. He's going to yield position to Brooks, and that's going to allow the 15 of Matt Wolf to try to pull up alongside his door, along with the 87 of Derek Holzhausen, who's really got to, be a little bit patient there, as Wolf has not been the fastest of the fast here tonight, struggling to get around that 00 of Gress.
And Rolf runs on that inside line. He'll win the battle for the moment. The fight now translates back to P4 just behind him. You're talking about that 87 car. He's working on Derek Gress, who that machine has been on the outside more times than not on these restarts. Either he just can't get lucky and find a spot in line, or he just has trouble keeping that car down low. And once the small door opens, obviously you can expect these guys to capitalize and go for it. Right now it is Kelly on the attack to the inside. He's bringing that 35, somebody that we need to keep a close eye on in the Childhood Cancer Canada, number 35, Kevin Walker on 4 tires. How strong are those really? We'll see, because Cody Kelly rides right in front of him on the racetrack. It's a battle for what is P6. The 75, though, did not take tires. 35 did, and so far not noticing any major advantage in the Walker camp. We're fighting now for the lead. To the inside goes Justin Brooks. Quick work made from Tim Bills. He was unable to capitalize when it was the 87 of Holzhausen up front, and when Tim Bills returns to the point, Justin Brooks, quick work of him.
I believe that was just a simple thing where Bills just let the 33 of Brooks go, because Bills probably fighting a little bit of a loose condition coming out of the corner there. He's tight getting in, and once the front wheels finally grip, the rear end of that car wants to come around on him. It looks like they're just by seeing him try to saw at the wheel a little bit going into the corners, and then having to correct the slide coming out of the corners. That's going to push Brooks now up to the lead there, and Matt Rolfe is doing everything he can do to hold off Derek Holzhausen in the 87.
And Rolf, no stranger to these short tracks. Up on the outside, he's got the number 15, which is a number font that is his last name on the iRacing service. He's up high, the 87, though, the 75, and something that we've seen time and time out tonight. The inside, once one car gets there, it opens up the door for many more. Cody Kelly capitalizing the 75 machine, a very methodical approach, I must say, to this event so far, because he's not really forcing the issue on some of these passes. He won't object, and really, he's just waiting for people to mess up, slip up, then he goes and takes the spot, really not forcing the issue. And what that is doing is it's keeping that Short Track Racing Network Toyota clean as he continues to the field, now up to 4th in the second half of this event.
Rolf has hit the wall there in about 6 laps before this while battling to try to hold off the 87 Holzhausen. He put Holzhausen up into the wall there, coming across the nose there of that 87 machine. There's going to be a fair bit amount of that right front damage there on that 87, but it's still not quite slowing him down. That last time bike takes 2/10 out of Justin Brooks' lead there. Holzhausen on the charge now, gets around the 44 lap machine of Bugatti, and he's got Cody Kelly trailing him right in his tire tracks as well, so that 75 is coming, folks.
And he continues his charge back up through the field. It appears to be really even with Derek Holzhausen in front of him, which is good news, because when Holzhausen was up front, Justin Brooks couldn't do anything with him. So if Kelly can maintain this pace, who knows what happens when they elect to take their tires later on in this event now, as we're no longer counting up, we're counting down on what's going to be about 88 laps to go or so these last few times around the racetrack. He's able to maintain that pace and see what he can do, because Brooks has not led this entire race, Bills has not led the entire race, and Holzhausen hasn't. So if you're a fan of numbers, it's not going to be Brooks that'll lead from this point on. Now, is the 33 team going to let that happen without ease? No. That Elliott Realty machine would like to finish up front and go all the way through, but at the moment, that's exactly where he sits, and he is really checking out now. 8/10 last time, 9/10 last time, now over Tim Bills. So continuing to grow and grow that gap between himself and Tim Bills, who is still clear from everybody else. Earlier it was the top 4, still the top 2 pretty strong, although Tim Bills not really in the same ballpark at the moment as Justin Brooks. Nobody really fast enough to challenge him, because he still sits really good over Holzhausen and Kelly, and neither the 87 or the 75 really catching up to him.
Just took a look at the onboard of Justin Brooks there for a moment there while you were talking to Evan, and Brooks is really charging these corners. He's really trying to use up what he's got left in them tires here, because I do believe on the next caution play he might take them 4 tires and try to run away and hide from everybody, because Holzhausen in the 87 has right front damage. Bills just does not have long run speed in that machine. Cody Kelly is doing everything he can to try to get around the 87 of Holzhausen, just not having enough speed to get right to that back bumper, although he's within 1 car length right now out of turn number 2, and closes that gap to about 3/4 of a car length, but not really getting much speed to do anything more than that.
D&D Amusement Games LLC is a full-service coin-operated amusement company serving the entire central Wisconsin area. We specialize in supplying bars, restaurants, bowling centers, and game rooms with the finest in coin-operated equipment and service delivered right to your doorstep. Our large showroom is stocked with video games, pool tables, jukeboxes, dart machines, and dart supplies. D&D, where the fun begins. Check out D&D Amusement Games, one of the sponsors here at the iCars Super Late Model Tour. Past halfway at South Boston on the downhill side of things, and well, as the laps go down, one thing increases, and that is the gap of Justin Brooks back to Tim Bills. We'll step away, go LSRTV side by side. It's all the Elliott Realty Wheeling and Dealing Toyota Camry at the front of the field right now. Can Brooks lock it up? He's chasing down the checkered flag in the Showdown 200.
Max is your winner over Tandy.
Back at South Boston, contact in 1 and 2 going to slow us down. Ray Farlow into number 72, looking to the inside, and very small contact it was, but when it happens at 99 miles an hour, Justin, not very good. It set John Milwain spinning to the outside wall. The 29 car of Ben Nile nowhere to go. And a 3-car incident down in 1 and 2 will slow us down now. And the leaders down to the pit lane. Derek Holtzhausen into his stall. Does he elect to take tires? Still looks like that's a negative. No, right side's going up for the first time. They will add fresh tires. Hoosier Racing tires going on those cars. Is it going to be a 4-tire stop? Cruz goes over to the left. It'll be 2 for Kelly and 4 for Holtzhausen.
It's going to be 4 tires on the 33 of Justin Brooks, 4 tires on the 87 of Holzhausen, and some damage fixing going on there. 75 of Kelly saves him 2 tires. I don't know if 2 tires is really going to be good enough considering everybody in front of him is on 4.
Going to be 2 to go before the restart this next time around, and it's also going to mark 71 laps to go at South Boston this time around the corner. Do want to remind everybody that in just about an hour's time, the second part of this evening's Sunday doubleheader on LSRTV will get going for round 3 of 5 in the Cora Sunday Money Series chase for the championship. Round 3 from Talladega, always an exciting one when you go out there on these plate tracks. That one coming up immediately following our coverage of the iCars Super Late Model Tour right here on LSRTV. We talk about how this race has gone, a handful of yellows, things in the middle of the portion of the race. Once we got green flag laps going, Justin, we talked about how these lap times not much over 15 seconds, really flying through this race. Now we've gotten to the point where nobody's really saving their tires anymore. We still see a little bit of a conservative move from the 75 team. He still has 2 sitting in his stall, but we're no longer coming down for just fuel. So really, now we're going to see who's going to be in a position to be competitive. Lights off on a pace car. We go green this next time.
Indeed they do. We got some drivers protesting the fact that the Jackman did put up the left side of the car. Some guys may be trying to eke out an extra set of tires here. It's going to be a hard thing to control in iRacing, but Brooks himself says he took just 2. I doubt that, as I did see the left side of that machine go up on that number 33 as well.
Yeah, monitoring that pit stop, the left sides did go up. I don't think they actually gave them the tires, but once they go up, that can count. Green flag is back in the air, and Justin Brooks will continue to plead his case, as I don't think they actually put the left side Hoosier Racing tires on, but it did go up on the jack for a moment, and that may be just enough for the officials to not allow them to get any more tires on that car. He sits right now, though, in P2. He wants to get back to the lead. He has to get through Kevin Walker to do so. He's not going to waste any time. To the inside, throws it in there. Good thing the 35 was looking out. Jumps out to the outside to give him that space at the last second. Brooks to the lead, and no surprise that it's the 75, his teammate. Both of them on the same tire strategy as they intended, at least, taking 2 tires. Now P1 and P2.
Kelly draws suit, and he's right up near that back bumper of the 33, but Brooks is trying everything he can do to stretch that lead now that he's got some traffic in between him and the next best car, I do believe, on the racetrack. Although he's running 5th at the moment, that's going to be the 87 of Holzhausen. Really showed his muscle there after about 40 laps or so on the tires there. He took 4 tires, I do believe, as well that last time by, so he's going to be out of tires as well. So he's really got to manage this set here and try to do whatever he can to get out in front of these guys and just kind of maintain that gap between him and Brooks, and then strike when the time is right.
8 cars remain on the lead lap and in contention for the checkered flag that lays ahead of them. Justin Brooks, Cody Kelly, they have stuck together all night long. They take the same strategy. However, you gotta uncheck the tires when you come into the pit lane automatically in the sim. If you don't tell it not to, it is going to start changing Ford tires. I think what happened is Brooks started to take two, realized that he did not tell the team to not take any because it would make sense that both him and Kelly on the same strategy. Cody had no issues only taking two. Left side started to go up. They dropped it immediately, but I believe that may count to the point where it does appear that although they did not put them on, left side went up, and race control is going to stop them and say that, well, you went to take four tires. That's all you get. Nonetheless, they are at the front of this field, pulling away from Tim Bills in that STP Dodge Charger entry, who has Justin Brooks designs on it, ironically enough, on the decklet of that. He's trying to chase down Brooks and company. Holtzhausen, a car that we have seen lead in this race, is fourth, and rounding out your top five is Stephen Burnett. You got Walker, Rolf, and Gress rounding out the 8 that sit on the lead lap. One car in a prime position to get the wave around would be John Milway. He's in a lucky dog spot right now. The 01 Monster Energy Toyota is 9th and is the only car within 10 laps off of our leaders, only 1 lap down. Everybody else, like the 44 to the 72, are more than 10 laps off of it and really out of contention.
Yeah, pretty much everybody from, and I hate to say this for John Milway's sake, but I think he's just out of contention for the fact that he really hasn't shown that much speed here tonight, as Burnett has been working on that car during every caution flag, getting that damage fixed on that number 5 machine. Finds himself P5, only about 2.5 seconds back there off the pace there, so he may be waiting to take his tires and then strike at the end of the race, as he did show he did have a decent short run car there in the early going.
And now we look forward, a quarter distance left in this. Do we go green all the way? It would be the longest green flag stretch that we have seen. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be at somebody's throat to get a yellow, but just one person has an issue. And we continue to talk about the close quarters racing here at Sobo. This track only 2/5 of a mile in length. There's not a lot of room to hide when somebody's bouncing off the wall. Really, all these incidents, I mean, we saw a huge one about, just 15 laps into this race, Justin. Really was only a 2-car wreck, but it's everybody behind them piling into it. The less cars on the lead lap, the better as far as avoiding that. We sit with 9, really, in a competitive situation. There's 10 people on the track right now. DeMarco Starks is actually now back out. He's been continuously bringing that car on and off of the pit lane throughout the evening. He now rejoins the racing surface 21 laps down, so we do have 11 active racers on the lead lap. But really, it looks like it may come down to a battle between two teammates who have not necessarily dominated this event. We've seen a tab of them get up front throughout this race. Brooks has led earlier on. Cody Kelly is yet to do so. They're both on 2 tires, though. Will somebody come down, take 4, or somebody that has already taken their 4 tires be able to challenge them if they're able to get a caution flag, get back up, and get close and personal with these guys? Don't see it happening if we maintain a green flag condition now within 15 laps to go with 8 people on the lead lap. Nobody really that close except for Tim Bills in the 37 machine, who appears to have picked up the pace in his most recent run. Rose now, he was falling off of Brooks earlier. Now he's closed it in from 8/10 down to 7. He'll drop back up to 8. And he needs to be careful to not get distracted by Derek Holtzhausen and trying to get him from the behind, because if he's looking in behind him, he's not going to be hitting his marks quite as good, and that means that the 75 to 33 could get further and further away. And as soon as Holtzhausen got up to him, he stopped making up time and regained losing time on those top 2 now.
Indeed, and I'm watching the battle for the top spot here. Cody Kelly is within about a car length or so, and has been at times a little bit closer than that even. There seems to really work well through entry, but Brooks figures out a way to drive off the corner a little bit better than the 75 of Kelly, as well as that gap shrinks once again there. Brooks not quite hitting his mark, and that's going to allow the 37 of Bills as well to close in a little bit, along with the 87 of Holzhausen. These guys about 1.25 seconds separates the top 4 right now, and then it's about almost 4 seconds back to the 5 of Stephen Burnett, who's slowly working his way into a battle with the hard-charging 15 of Matt Rolfe, trying to work his way back into the top 5.
Talked about race-driven graphics on board some of the machines this evening. At Race-Driven Graphics, we are dedicated to online sim racing paint schemes, hero cards, banners, and more. Message us for your next paint and quote through their Facebook page. Just search Race-Driven Graphics on Facebook. Give them a like and give them support as well as they ride on board this evening with one of the cars out there on track that's currently working in a position that has been better but not that bad. The P5 car that is in P5, it's Stephen Burnett sporting race-driven graphics on board his Chevrolet. He continues to work through a rough night after he's been up inside of the top 3. He's been outside of the top 5. He sits right where he started, pretty content. Would be a decent points evening if you talk about it. It is interesting the approach that these guys have to talk about, because it's not like we're only going to have one race on LSRTV every month because we're missing some coverage. There's 10 races in the season, pretty much one every month or so, going all the way to the end of 2015. So you're not racing every week, you're racing every 3 or 4 weeks. Kind of hard to keep into a rhythm. It allows these guys, because we talked about how there's big names. We know they're big names because they compete in a lot of short track racing leagues. Gives them a lot of time to not only focus on those, but then put in a lot of time. If you really don't feel confident going into a track, you don't need to jam yourself with a lot of practice in 1 week. You can gradually work on it and get comfortable with the track throughout a month, go into the next race and be competitive.
Yeah, that may be the case here as we're working about 36 to go here at South Boston here. I gotta wonder if Brooks is trying to save his stuff while being out front, because Kelly's really closed that gap along with the 37 to 10 Bills, and the 87 Holzhausen is within 1 second now of the race leader as well. He's riding in the 4 spot. Brooks maybe just trying to save something just in case this thing goes all the way to the end here, but we may actually end up with an official review if he does come down pit road and decide to take tires. Time will only tell. 35 laps to go here at South Boston.
And there is a lot of traffic around our leaders. They had to go to the inside of the 00, now sliced to the inside on the 29. Ben Nile, who at points in this race was leading, now sits in position 11, now 30 laps down. Brooks has a lot of cars to work through now and not a lot of clean track to do. So after he gets around Raphael Lessard, who stays up to the outside here, that number 17 staying out of the way, and Brooks will utilize the inside to attempt to make that pass this time through. Clear track for a little bit, but when they got really into that Hornet's Nest, about 3 laps to go, Tim Bills was close enough to be on the back bumper of Cody Kelly, and depended on how well the 37 and the 87 as well, because Holzhausen has been plastered on the back deck lid of Bills throughout this entire green flag stint since we went back at it off of our most recent caution flag. It's not really fallen off with them. Both of them now within 1 second, so the top 10, or rather the top 4, within 1 second of each other.
Lessard gives the 37 of Bills a hard time there for about 3 laps, would not let the 37 go. Falls back to almost a second away after being only about 0.3 of a second behind race leader Brooks as well, and that's going to push Holzhausen even further back, 1.3 seconds now behind race leader Brooks as they finally get clear of that number 17 machine.
And as they get clear, they had to work a little bit longer than Kelly and Brooks did, so they had the upper hand on the first couple of lap cars, and they were on the slower end of those two. So now the gap returns between the top 2 to about a second, back to 3rd on back. Bill still Holzhausen, the rest of the guys in the lead lap in a little battle of their own. How about Stephen Burnett? Talked about that 5 car. He is under attack by the 15 of Matt Rolfe. We've seen that Toyota up front throughout this evening a couple of times, and he's really been all over the leaderboard so far this evening. Right now running in the top 10 spot, and if he's able to make one more move, he can get that Matt Rolfe Designs Toyota into a top 5 position. He's not letting the 5 car, though, dictate how it's going to go. He needs to get aggressive as we get within the final just bit of this race. Going to be 25 laps to go and 2 times around.
In fact, the car you're seeing here tonight was scanned from Matt Rolfe's father, Ricky Rolfe, a competitor out at Oxford Plains Speedway there up in the Northeast as well. So this is an RB chassis car that's been scanned here for the iRacing service, as he does everything he can to get around the 5 of Burnett in front of him. Not looking like he's got the car to do it, or he's struggling with a loose condition out of the corners there. Really makes that car really tail happy, as Kelly now has fallen a little bit further back there of Brooks, but it seems to have regained it there, getting around a lap car there. He's within about 3 car lengths here as we're working inside of 25 to go.
Closing in on the end of this one, into the final 1/8 of competition, and it is still Cody Kelly, it is still Justin Brooks. I'll pose the question to you, Justin. Your teammate sitting in front of you. Actually, no, there we go. This changes everything. Caution flag, trouble down the front straightaway and into the outside wall. Caution is out. We will slow them down. Heavy damage on the man we were just talking about, Matt Rolfe. We talked about how the chassis is something that's scanned right out of their family racing department, and that number that he runs as well, the number font is his own name. Somebody that's very synonymous with short track racing, gave it everything he had and a little bit too much. Spun that car out into the inside wall, trying to dig for fifth, head on, caution flag flies, and now this changes. It's a whole new ballgame. Brooks to the pit lane. Cody Kelly yet to come down. He may elect to come down the next time around. We've seen that a couple of times, but Justin Brooks is down to the pit lane for service, and he now rolls back out. May have been a miscommunication. I believe he felt like pit road was open. Race control will clarify that it was not, and he'll be able to go back out there and not lose his spot.
That may be the strategy giveaway there. He may decide to come down pit road when pit road does actually open. So he may want to try to take them 2 tires that he says he still has left. Who really knows? Brooks does hit pit road along with the 37 of Bills. The 75 of Kelly and the 87 of Holzhausen has made their bed. They're going to stay up front in the top 2 spots. And Bills and Brooks going to be hard charging there, coming from a little bit further back.
That's the most literal definition of a split strategy that you could have seen. And now Cody Kelly, he'll elect to come down the pit lane via the entry off of quarter number 2 where his pit stall is located. However, Holzhausen will not. The strategy called, trying to put that number 87 in victory lane. He elects to stay out on the racetrack from both of the pit lanes, and he appears that, as he does not even take a look at it that time before either, the 87 is going to have to fend off some guys with fresh tires, but that's the call that he thinks is going to put that forward in victory lane. And he could also ride a couple of yellows here if we get real dicey with 6 cars left on the lead lap. He may be able to ride a couple of caution flags through to a checkered, which I think he may be hoping on, because with no tires, good luck holding off guys that were equally as fast as you, if not faster, when you were on equal ones.
Indeed, and I do believe it's going to be the 5 and the 35 getting out in front of Brooks and Bills and Kelly. Those guys, you have to work from positions 4 through 6 there on the racetrack. So it's really going to benefit Holzhausen if you can get out there and get a couple of cautions there, especially with these guys being a little bit harder to pass with the 5 and the 35.
The pace car continues to lead our field down through 1 and 2. The pilot of that iCars Ford Falcon pace car, Dustin Graham, continues to lead our drivers down through the quarter. After 19 of us started on the lead lap, 6 remain, and they go all the way through the likes of Holzhausen, Burnett, Brooks, Walker, Bills, and Kelly. As we get gridded up, 2 laps to go to the green flag this next time by the start-finish line. Going to get some of our wave rounds dealt with and get everybody set up. 1 to go actually this time by the line, because everybody is sorted out back in the pack. Justin, I'm going to put you on the spot. We're going to go back green flag racing right at the marker of 16 laps to go in this event. Who walks away with the checkered flag as the lights go out?
If Holzhausen has to go from here to the checkers, I'm going to say the 33 of Brooks. If we get a couple quickie cautions, I'm going to say it's the 87 of Holzhausen. Brooks, known to use the chrome horn a little bit here, especially in the short track world. He'll do what it takes to get up front and try to get around the 35 of Walker and the 5 of Burnett.
And how will this restart be dictated by who's on the inside, who's on the outside? It's Holzhausen and Walker on the inside. Outside is Brooks and the 5 of Burnett. Green flag flies. Look at Justin Brooks. Dives to the inside. He'll get into Stephen Burnett. Move the 5 car up and out of the way. A great run by Cody Kelly through 2. And now those 33 and 75 teammates, just like that, said they used the bumper. They did. They're in 2nd and 3rd, and they see their target in front of them.
These guys with 2 fresher tires on the racetrack right now. Brooks within a car length, and he's closing quick on the 87. Is he going to use the bumper to get around Holzhausen? Time will tell us he's inside there, and that's going to be the pass for the win. I do believe Kelly there, struggling to get grip out of the corner there, has to yield, and this is all Brooks from here on out, it looks like.
Holtzhausen does not get the caution he needed, and a little bit of a bobble by the 75 of Cody Kelly, not only this time at a 4, but as well just a little bit ago, because he saw that Holtzhausen was really shaking the back end of that car off the corner. He checked up a little bit as him and Brooks were making a pass to maybe avoid contact if Derek needed a little bit more room to regain control of that Ford. And it is now 0.3 of a second. Justin Brooks once again in the wheeling and dealing car. We talked about he would be aggressive on the start. The question was, how aggressive? Split the gap between the 35 and the 5. A small bump to Stephen Burnett moves the 5 from second all the way back to right now is P6 and dead last on a racetrack. He's fighting actually with Kevin Walker, so side by side for 5th position at a corner number 4. They're neck and neck down into 1.
Yeah, they are, and the 35 of Walker doing everything he can to hold off the 5, who, in my mind, just got run up the track there going into the corner. Brooks certainly used the chrome horn, and Burnett's probably not on an even keel at this moment there as he uses the bumper a little bit. Tries to get the 35 of Walker looser, but it's all grab and go at this point in the race. Less than 10 laps to go here at South Boston. And it looks like it's going to be these guys going to be the most interesting battle here to the finish.
Kelly, half a second off. He's a second to the good over Holtzhausen, who's a second to the good over Tim Bills. Nothing brewing inside of the top 4. The best fight on track for position is for 5th. It involves the 5 who wants it to the left rear, to the apron, trying to get the inside. He'll dive it in quarter number 3, get the position, and as they race side by side, door to door off the front straightaway, the race-driven graphics, number 5 of Stephen Burnett on the inside. He's trying to hold off the Childhood Cancer Canada 35 on the outside. Kevin Walker, though, not the first time tonight we've seen that 35B Pesky not giving up a spot. He continues to defend up high.
5 laps to go this last time by there. The advantage to Burnett at the line. He's about a half car length clear there going into turns number 3. Does clear the 35 of Kevin Walker as Walker tries to use that qualifying line, it looks like, to kind of dive down and get the advantage on the number 5. Does not appear to have the momentum out of the corner there, so that's going to hand the 5th place spot to Burnett as he's starting to pull away from the 35.
And that may be the final swap of position we see. A caution at this point will end this race. This time by 2 laps to go for Justin Brooks. He takes lap 200 of 201. Subtract 1 off the top because we had to get gridded up behind the Ford Falcon pace car and the 33 machine. 1 more lap car, diving way out of the way. The 44 wants no factor. White flag and only 2/5 of a mile left to go. His teammate making one final push. Cody Kelly into corner 3, drives it hard, not hard enough at a 4 checkered flag. The Showdown 200 to the wheeling and dealing Elliott Realty entry. Justin Brooks will take home the checkered flag in the series debut of the iCars Internet Championship Auto Racing Series Super Late Model Tour over his teammate Cody Kelly. And one of the strongest cars all night long will have to settle for 3rd. Comes over and gives a congratulations out the window. Derek Holtzhausen rounding off our podium.
Rounding out your top 10 here tonight will be the 37 of Tim Bills, tonight's pole sitter, and the 5 of Stephen Burnett rounds out your top 5. Positions 6 through 10 is going to be the 35 of Kevin Walker, the 01 of John Milwane, 44 Paul Fugatti, the 15 of Matt Rolfe, who fell out of the race, will come home in the 9th position, and rounding out your top 10, the 00 of Derek Gress.
Ben Nile would come home 11th. 12th was DeMarco Starks. Ray Farlow in 13th. 14th to Raphael Lessard and Corey Dunn in a 15th position. It was 16th to Ricky LeDuc, Carson Obey in 17th, 18th to Kyle Holtzhausen, and 19th to Denny Clark. Justin Brooks celebrates with all his teammates down on the front straightaway. They not only almost take the sweep of the podium, but they finish 3 out of the top 4, and every single one of them put on a good performance tonight. He's got a month to fix it, so it doesn't matter that he takes out the engine in that one. Justin Brooks, your winner tonight in the Showdown 200. We'll step away and come back in just a moment to wrap things up from Sobo. The post-race show for the Showdown 200 on LSRTV is on the other side.
Monza is a very historic track. It's been around since the 20s, and it's gone through several permutations since then. We're also bringing forward a number of configurations. So there's chicanes that they've installed since the track's early days. So they can use original, very high-speed configurations of the track where the cars would just blow through where the chicanes are today, or they could use a more modern version. So it's a pretty cool, compelling track. The unique thing about Monza is it has a road course, but it also has a high-speed oval. And that high-speed oval can be run by itself. The Grand Prix course can be run by itself. And they also can be run together in a combined circuit, which is very unique and special in motorsports. This was one of the more challenging projects that we've undertaken. It was essentially building two tracks in one. It took a lot of time and a lot of care was put into it, but we're really happy about the end result, and we think that people have a lot of fun driving it.
Up to you.
Cars are lined up on the grid. The Irish.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn one for the first time.
Back live at the South Boston Speedway, the series debut for the iCars Internet Championship Auto Racing Series Super Late Model Tour has come to a close. The Showdown 200 from America's hometown track is in the books. Justin Brooks comes home victorious this evening. You're tuning into the LSRTV post-race show to wrap things up from this evening. Again, after our coverage, don't step away. Keep tabs with LSRTV at livesimracing.com or facebook.com/livesimracingtv because we have part two of our Sunday night doubleheader coming up just on the other side of this. Cora Sunday Money. It's their chase for the championship, and it's the halfway point from Talladega. You're not going to miss that one. But first, I've caught up down on the pit lane with the driver that's going to come home in P3 for this one. Derek, you got a copy?
I got a copy.
Well, you bring that number 87 machine home in a P3 this evening. It was a very interesting night. First time that we were able to see you guys out there with that tire strategy in full effect. There were times where that 87 was up front. There were times where you were back in traffic. When it's all said and done, you come home with about a second or two to the good in front of you, a second or two to the good behind you, but it's still a podium finish for that 87 crew. How was the night?
It was great. Podium finish against Justin and Cody there is always a good night. They're extremely fast, and they definitely had a good strategy. I was definitely impressed, and I learned something from them, for sure.
It's just one step now on your way and your opportunities to obviously want to fight for the 2015 championship. Round 1 of 10 now in the books. You got to quite a bit of time off till we go back racing once again. But it is an open set series, and the tire strategy was interesting. We saw a couple of people go 2 tires 2 times. We saw a couple of guys do 4 tires. What did you do tonight as far as the tire strategy went, and were you keeping tabs on everybody else and maybe making some notes for future races?
I definitely had some notes, and I was keeping tabs on them. I've got a South Boston car that I really like, and I was definitely content with knowing that I was just going to take 4 tires somewhere around a little after halfway and fill her up and be good to go. And honestly thought I was going to have a super strong car, but those boys that took 2 tires both times, they definitely showed us what's up tonight.
We roll forward now. The next time you guys are going to be out here on track is going to be from the Lucas Oil Raceway for the Spring Brawl 125 at the end of May. So quite a little bit of time off. How are you going to stay fresh for that one? And then how confident are you going into that racetrack, which is a very flat one?
Yeah, that might change things a bit. It'll just take some practice.
It was a solid run for you guys tonight. You come home on the podium behind some of the biggest names in short track racing on the sim. Sponsors and shout outs, anybody you want to thank for making this kind of a run possible as you head off on your charge for a championship?
Well, of course, I'm going to thank Kyle, my cousin, for putting this on. It was a lot of fun, and all the admins and everybody who made it work out, and you guys for broadcasting it. I sure appreciate it. It's a lot of fun when you guys all do that.
We appreciate you, Derek, for taking a moment to talk to us. Congratulations on your podium. Good luck rolling forward into the month of May and with ever, race and stuff you're going to be going on. We'll see you in just over a month, though, at Lucas Oil, and we'll look for that 87 to be competitive as it was tonight.
Thank you, guys. It was a fun night.
That is your third place finisher, and now our third member of our booth crew this evening, Carl Jones, who was sitting in the back and keeping some statistics, letting us know everything that was going on track. Carl, you've caught up down on the pit lane with a driver that comes home in second to only his teammate. You're down, and you've caught up with Cody Kelly.
Yeah, I caught up with Cody Kelly down here on pit road. Great race tonight, Kelly, finishing second tonight. A little bit different things that I've ever seen done on the racetrack here with the way they do with the pit strategy there. You're only allowed to use 4 tires throughout the whole race. What kind of strategy did you use tonight?
Well, I was going to take 4 tires later on in the race, but then Brooks talked me into taking 2, and then he was like, we can just take 2 again when another caution comes out because we knew there was going to be another caution. So we just took 4 right sides instead of 4 all the way around, and it worked out really good.
Well, we noticed the last few laps there, you got your nose right down on Brooks's back bumper there. Did you think you had anything for him at all, or did you just know that you were going to try to push him along and get him the win?
If I could have got a little bit closer to him, I'd have probably put the bumper to him. But no, he's my buddy, and we race pretty clean all the time.
Well, there was a race that was kind of filled with cautions tonight. What kind of strategy were you using during the cautions? Were you thinking about doing any kind of a fuel strategy? Did the cautions hurt your fuel strategy in any way, shape, or form, or were you able to pretty much keep right on track what you were planning right from the get-go?
We had it planned out from the get-go because there was a lot of cautions, and there wasn't too many people on the lead lap, and a lot of people were pitting every time, so we just kept pitting every time and kept filling her up, and it worked out.
Well, I want to congratulate you on your second place finish. Great job tonight. And any shout outs tonight?
Yeah, I want to thank Willin and Dylan Motorsports, Tim Bills, Justin Brooks, especially him, for giving me this good setup. And I just want to thank everybody that helps me out. And good win for Justin.
That's our second place finisher, Cody Kelly, here at South Boston. Back to Evan Pasugo.
And we're down in the victory lane here at the South Boston Speedway, something that, if he's in the race and he's on LSRTV or anywhere else, it seems to be good luck. And yet again, he puts that number 33 in victory lane. It's been a long time since I've talked to Justin Brooks at a victory lane. Not the 33 wins it tonight, Justin. Victorious in the season opener. Wasn't that easy, though, because you have to come into this series. Very different some others. The tire strategy, you're only given 4. You guys went with 2 sets of 2 right. Some guys tried 4 at once. And, well, you and Cody, that strategy worked out in the end. You win the Showdown 200. How'd you get the job done?
Like you just said, it involved pit strategy. I start the race. I hadn't had much practice on my setup, and I threw a bunch of changes at it. And I was tight in the center. Derek Holthausen was faster than me. He was rolling the center better than me, and I knew I had to do something. So we talked about it. We discussed the strategy, me and Cody, and decided to go with right sides only. And I made some adjustments, took some crossweight out, and went up on the air pressure. Did a few other things, brake bias and all that, and got it where it was running pretty good. And I came in. We had a caution again. What was it? 25 to go, and like I told him before, I said if we do that, we could take two more right sides, and it's gonna make a difference how much the tires fall off. I mean, it falls off a few tenths, but still, that's a lot. And we went in again. When I went in that last time, though, I put 75% tape on it, and that thing was smoking. I mean, I was just felt like a Cadillac. I was rolling the center so good, getting off the corner so good, and it was fast as hell. And at the end, I started having to back it up. My temperature started getting high, but I mean, it was enough just to make it to the end and wind up being a winning call, I think.
It was the correct call. We talked to Cody. He said he wanted 4, and you're the one that talked him into that strategy. Evidently, it worked. You go into a race like this at Sobo, interesting grid. You guys had to get things sorted out there with the field inversion and whatnot. Race 1 of 10 now is in the books, but Sobo is very tight quarters. We saw when one person had trouble, it collected about 4 or 5 others because there's just nowhere around for anybody to get through. Also, no quick fixes. How did that 33 car look so clean at the end of the night?
Patience. I mean, first bit of the race, like I said, I was just riding, just getting a feel of what the car needs, the balance of the car. I mean, just riding behind my teammate Tim there, just saving tires and all that. And I think that had a lot to do with it. I didn't really start going until about 70 to go after I first got them 2 right side tires on it, just to see what it'd do. And there at the end, I really started going. But patience. I mean, just trying to run my line, hit my marks, not overdo the card or try to keep up with somebody or pull away from the field. I mean, it was just calming myself down. I had to keep talking to myself to calm myself down so that I wouldn't overdrive the car. And like I said, it was just that and knowing it's 200 lap race. And, that's pretty much about it.
A methodical approach to it. The inside appeared to be the place to be. We saw a couple of times the outside, somebody was able to, make the pass a lot harder than maybe it needed to be. They could be pesky hanging up there on the outside. However, not 1 week's time, but in 1 month's time, for the next time you guys come out here, the outside is really where you need to be, and we're talking up against the wall. You're going to the Lucas Oil Raceway for race number 2, albeit it is just a little bit over a month away, and we know that you'll be active in the race car in between then, but we're looking forward to May 31st for the Spring Brawl 125. How do you like that racetrack?
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan. It ain't the worst track or worst liking track of mine, but I mean, I like it. But I know I have before run really good there when I expected not to run really good. So I'm gonna expect myself not to run really good, and maybe I will run really good there. I don't know. We'll see. We're gonna work on the setup around that time. Try to get a little bit of practice in this time so we can know what the balance of the car will be, and not going in a race not knowing if the setup's going to fall off, get loose, get tight, all that kind of things. And hopefully we can come out top there too.
There's going to be the open setups as well throughout the entire season, and that's why we saw your team take 3 out of the top 4 at least. It was a strong night for everybody. As always, the sponsors and shout-outs. Who powers that number 33 Wheeling and Dealing Motorsports Toyota Camry to victory lane?
First off, I want to thank all the guys over here at iCars for throwing this together. It's a great thing. Kyle Holzhausen and all the guys that made this possible. All you guys for making this possible. Thank all my sponsors, Short Track Racing Network, Elliott Realty, beautiful paint scheme, Wheeling and Dealing Motorsports, Big Evil Racing, Justin Brooks Designs. Like I said, all the guys at Wheeling and Dealing Motorsports, Tim Bills, Cody Kelly, Casey Kelly, David Krikourian, a bunch of other guys that make this happen. Great guys. I want to thank, let me see here, Kevin Ellis and them. They're watching tonight. We went to the racetrack earlier and come back. Like I said, that's why I about missed practice, because I was sitting in the racetrack watching the races earlier and got back in time just for this. Anybody else that's watching out there, thank you for tuning in. Like I said, thank you guys again. That's all I can say.
We'll keep an eye on you guys definitely on May 31st for the next event. I'm sure if either we don't run into you here, I'm sure I'll run into you somewhere else out there on track. Justin, thanks for talking with us. Again, congratulations, and we'll see you at Lucas Oil Raceway.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
That is your winner tonight in a dominating performance. Took those final 20 laps and took a stranglehold on him and put it in victory lane. Justin Brooks with the 2 times 2 tire strategy call. Him and Cody Kelly take the top 2, and Holtzhausen round out the top 3. We gave you the full field rundown as the checker flew. The full results continue to go across the ticker at the top of the screen. Carl, I know you were looking at a lot of numbers and giving us a lot of statistics throughout the evening, but before we step away and close things out, because we got to get out on a plane. We need to be in Lincoln, Alabama in about 25 minutes time for Cora Sunday Money Chase action. Final thoughts on what was the season opener for the iCars Tour?
Oh, it was a very exciting race. I got to see it from a different point of view, not being up there broadcasting, but just kind of giving you guys some feed on what's going on the track. But yeah, these guys put on a great show. It was a shame to see a lot of those cautions come out there because they got racing really, really good. It seems like every time they would, caution would come out. But otherwise, yeah, it was a great show. Really enjoyed being here. Thank you for having me up here in the booth.
And it wraps things up. We are so glad to be a part of this iCars Internet Championship Auto Racing Series Super Late Model Tour. 1 down and 9 to go, and we hope you join us throughout their entire schedule. For more information on when you can find them, go to iCarsTour.com or LiveSimRacing.com for all of that information. We need to thank the sponsors at iCars that make this possible: Brennigan Ford in Sparta, Wisconsin, D&D Amusement Games, Race-Driven Graphics, and Deborah for making all of this possible. I want to thank the broadcast crew this evening on behalf of myself, Evan Pasoko, Justin Rosenau, Carl Jones, and Laura Lawson. Good night from the South Boston Speedway. Congratulations once again to Justin Brooks. Stay tuned. The second part of our doubleheader from Talladega. Cora Sunday Money is next. Until then, we'll see you with more iCars next month from Lucas Oil Raceway. Good night.